Good evening and welcome. What the hell is this? That's a great question, podcast. What do they call that? Jazz hands.
No. These are jazz hands.
Oh, spirit fingers. Yes.
Spirit fingers. These are jazz hands. Yeah. These are spirit fingers.
How about we just shoot ourselves in the head?
Know the difference.
Get it over with.
Yeah, right.
Good evening, man. How you doing, Mr. Warrior?
Doing well. I just came back from dinner with my girlfriend. It was nice, and then I guess got down with a group of volunteers for Dr. Shiva and what he's promoting and stuff like that. So I might have an opportunity to interview him live. So we'll see if that happens or not. And so if it does, fantastic. If it doesn't, fantastic. So
cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
All right.
I have no idea, to be honest. I applied for it and we'll see what happens. That's about it. That's
all you can do.
Yep. That's right.
The fun part.
Yeah. The waiting. Just tell me. Tell me.
Exactly. Mr. Spaz.
Sir.
How you doing, brother?
It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah, I was worried about you the last couple of days.
It's been a rough couple of days. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it has been. So thank you for that. But I don't want to talk about me. I want to, I'm glad to be here. Glad to have you guys here. Reverend Rant is finishing up with Chris. Sent me a message saying that he'll be here as soon as possible.
Cool.
So we'll have his input tonight also. All right, so let me say hello to you guys up in the chat. Sorry for the voice. It's just getting worse. So I'll do the best I can. Jim Bob, Sherry Pittsburgh, Zombie 5. What's up? Fly Free is here. Trump Red Bill. What's happening? Disco Daphne, Supermod in the house. What's up? Vanita, thank you for the tip. Appreciate that. Crazy Chuck. I do have to say, and I want to mention, I got a gift from Quiltanon. A beautiful gift from Quiltanon that I'm going to show the gift during the week. But she sent me a beautiful gift, and also something from Lightspear. Lance, I wanted to say thank you for that. Just to let you guys know I received your stuff. So, but okay. So anybody over on the D Live, YouTube, or X, welcome to you. So the last few days, I don't know how much political nonsensory you guys have been watching. I don't know how much.
Not a whole lot, but there have been a few things that I have piqued my interest.
So let's do this. I mean, I've been pretty much just chilling for the last 3 or 4 days. I really haven't. I didn't live stream, nothing like that. So I got quite a bit of information up here. But we'll start with you, Warrior. What has piqued your curiosity in, say, the last 3 or 4 days?
Well, what has really, let me see here. I'm not even on your channel. What has really come to fruition, something that I said over a year ago at this point, is what would we be seeing in larger cities or smaller communities around those cities, and gangs and firearms and that situation. What I'm referring to specifically, people, is Aurora, Colorado. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there have been a few apartment buildings that have been taken over by Venezuelan gangs.
More than a few.
More than a few. So they're expanding their operation. And so what I said over a year ago, that you would have these gangs, these prisons that are being emptied into our country, they would get organized. They would slowly get the guns legally. And then it'd be put into the hands of these criminals, and therefore they would then in turn go to the quote unquote weaker community or the whiter communities, and they would take over the small towns. They would take over bridges. They would take over infrastructure. And as of right now, I haven't heard anything except for the Hells Angels and some other biker gang going to Aurora to do what? I'm not quite sure, but something the National Guard should be doing right now. Should have been done last week. Should have been taken over on Sunday. Should have been the end of it, and you should have a bunch of dead Venezuelans lying in the street. So yes, in Chicago, you're right, Sherry Pittsburgh, in Chicago too. Like I said, so just now that we have these Venezuelans, because they took over Humboldt Park over in Chicago for the weekend. So what you're going to see now, okay, and I predict this like I did last time, and I only because it's an educated guess, and I only put my mindset in the mindset of the enemy. What would I do if I were the enemy? Okay, so what you're going to see now in these cities that have large black populations, Baltimore, New York, Chicago, LA, Seattle, Atlanta. You're going to see Dallas, Houston, Boston. you're going to see a lot of these larger cities, Kansas City, St. Louis. Sorry, I forgot about those. Those are my neighbors. They're going to have these small pockets. They're already happening right now, I guarantee you. But eventually, these African immigrants who are in these areas, these illegal aliens, they are going to have machetes. They are going to have weapons, and they are going to go to black neighborhoods if they haven't already. They will take over the black neighborhoods to blend in with the population. They will take over the projects. They will take over the gangs. If not, they'll cut their fucking head off in front of everybody, and then they will slowly start taking over sections of the city, and you will have what you see in Europe. This is exactly what happened in Europe, except for minus the guns, but you still had the knives and the pipes and all that kind of stuff. You're going to have these pockets of no-go zones where the police will not go because what they are taken over by other foreign entities, and it's going to take the people of that town, of those areas, because the police are going to be told to stand down. The National Guard is going to be told to stand down. So it's going to be the good old boys and the militia again to take over these areas back over, and that's going to include a little bit of bloodshed. And I don't know if people are ready for that. I keep spouting the truth every single time I open my mouth, and nobody wants to listen. But
the last time we had that conversation,
yes,
right? The last time we had that conversation, and Spaz, you were here also. The conversation gravitated towards a military takeover. Remember?
Yeah.
Right, a military takeover. This is not that.
No, this is the gang. This is what I said.
This is what you and I and Spaz discussed as what was going to happen.
And here we are now.
Here we are now.
It's only a matter of time before it spreads to other cities. Why? It's because this thing in Aurora, Colorado has taken so long for the authorities the quote unquote authorities to respond.
They're not even saying it's happening.
No, they're not. No, they're saying they're telling the people to stay inside. As a matter of fact,
there's video everywhere.
So fucking
everywhere. And what's happening is that the owners of these apartment complexes want to demolish these buildings. And they can't do it because they can't get the people out. The police won't evict the people. So these gangs are coming in and taking everything over.
I said, just any kind of high rise. If anybody who's ever watched any kind of real inner city show like The Wire or something like that, or read any books about the cops in those neighborhoods, there's 1,000 shows out there that are very accurate, and there's 1,000 different books that are accurate by people. All you have to do is read a couple and figure some shit out. Is that you will see there will be a small, because the way that a lot of these African militias groups work is they work in a very militaristic way. You have a general, you have your captains, and you have everybody else.
Right.
And there is an additional ranks. There's the guy at top. There's one person at top, and he has no problem cutting people's heads off and eating limbs. And then you have the people subsequently below him, and then everybody else, all the pawns, all the soldiers, if you will. And we're going to see that here in this country. People said, oh, this can't happen in America. Bullshit. While everybody else is worried about the fucking microcosms of shit, I've been looking at other things, okay? I'm telling you, this is going to happen. Tomorrow, I'm going to be carrying from now on. No joke. Because I don't know who the fuck is in my town anymore. I drive past it on a daily basis. I drive the building that welcomes illegal aliens into our country. My city is a sanctuary city too. So even though I live in a town of 110,000, 120,000, probably way more than that now because school's in. We're talking with the initial students, everything else, probably reaching 300,000. Not 300K is not 1 million or 2 million people, but you have a smaller, because the thing is I have St. Louis and Kansas City on the other side of me, which are less than 2 hours away from my doorstep. So it's not that hard for somebody to have a couple car full loads of people or truckloads full of people and move on down the road and into one of our ghettos we have here in our town. So to me, it's a bittersweet, because on one side it's like, man, I wish I wasn't right. But on the other hand, I'm like, you know what? Maybe y'all should listen to me because this shit's coming true. The shit that I talk about is coming true.
Well, yeah.
So I'm talking not you specifically, the guys here on the panel, but people in general, maybe those who might be listening. So,
well, no. What I'm saying is that the directions that some people took with the illegal immigrants, we both said were wrong, or at least I did.
yeah.
And we saw what was going to eventually happen. So, Spaz is.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, what do you think about what, Paulie? Thank you for the fleet. What do you think about this? And since you travel a lot for where you work, within 20, 30, 40 miles where you live, have you seen anything that's going to raise your antennas?
No, I've seen nothing like that. I do see more people openly carry. I do see that. That's nice. But yeah, I don't see none of that. I don't know. Maybe it's just the areas I'm in.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't see any of that. But it is kind of weird. And I don't really. This is about as much news as I get. I go to work. I do my work and focus on that, and come home, plop my ass in front of these screens here, and talk to you guys.
Okay, fair enough. So, just general question. Well, why do you think the police departments are ignoring this? I mean, it's hard to ignore when you see pictures of people walking in suburban neighborhoods, breaking into houses with long guns, with rifles, and stealing shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And going from apartments to apartments, knocking on doors with pistols and rifles. I'm just saying. So it's hard. It's hard for the police. Why are they ignoring this? And two, what's the advantage of them ignoring it? Are they trying to provoke a citizen response?
That would be something. Look, you know what?
Yeah.
The one thing I know about police is they don't do things. They get told to do things. Otherwise, it's just going to happen on the street, and they'll have to worry about it later.
Look what happened with Summer of Love, right?
Right. Once again, they were told to back off. They were told to stand down. Yeah, stand down. Yeah.
Yeah. Account after account after account came out of police, in the news or in their personal, Twitter account or their Instagram account or TikTok or whatever it is. They came on, they hide their name and hide their face and say, we were told to stand down. We were told to stand down and leave our base. We were told not to engage with these people in the street and let them just riot and burn things.
But here's the thing, though, and this happened here in Southern California during the riots of Pink Floyd.
Rodney King?
Yeah, George Floyd.
Oh, George Floyd. Okay.
I said Pink Floyd.
Close enough. It's a Floyd.
He turned
the gangs in Long Beach here, when they were running through, looting, and the Antifas, the gangs down there, shot a couple of them, and they left and never came back. Do you think in these cities, like you were saying, New York, Atlanta, LA, Chicago, that these gangs that run these cities are going to step up to these people like they did here in 2020? They're like, no, sorry, not my city.
Well, that's why we had all this immigration is to because what you're building is you're building these tiny armies that are independent upon each other, and they're violent. They know how to operate. They know how to create chaos, especially the ones that are running, at the generals or the captains, whatever, and lieutenants. Those individuals, they know how to create violence. And they know how to push violence. I don't know if you've been watching a lot of videos of younger people reacting violently to seemingly situations where they're I've seen a few videos today where you've got this young black man. He missed his plane and he demanded the plane stop and let him on, and then it proceeded to destroy the screens and the computers and everything else that was around him. And I'm thinking to myself, where the fuck does this person get off? First of all, what is this? What kind of medication is this person taking? And second of all, I was like, well, where does this person get off breaking property? I mean, what is that going to do? It's just he's just reacting to a situation with emotions and not going, oh man, I should have,
like a child.
I was like a child, literally like a 5-year-old child throwing a fit, just breaking stuff. But then you turn around and you see videos of 5-year-old children doing the exact same thing. Like, so who's the emotional adult here? Who's more emotional, mature? The child for acting like a 5-year-old, or the 30-year-old acting like a 5-year-old? What's worse, or is it equally bad?
Well, who is responsible for that behavior?
Well, for the child, it's going to be the adults, but for the adult, it's the adult. But that's not the way our society. That's not the way the society is being raised. And that's where you have a lot of these young gangbangers. I don't know. I remember, Pete, were you in LA during the 90s?
Yeah.
Okay, so Blood and Crip and Compton, that whole fiasco, right?
Yeah.
Being a kid in South Dakota at the time, I got all my information through MTV and the news and whatever was coming out on CDs and stuff. So I didn't really know anything. But it's not going to be a very far jump for these immigrants to create a network of surveillance on the gangs that are ruling the area, that ruling the certain territories essentially. And it'd be very easy for them to go in one night and they'll find out where the dude lives and simply just take him out. To me, if this is the plan, which we're seeing it unfold right now, this is actually what's happening. I would suspect to see car bombings. I would expect to see a lot more drive-bys. I would expect to see a lot more violence on quote unquote gang violence in order to control the territory. That's what I would see. Now, if you people want to look in your area to see if you've had more gang on gang violence, there might be a thread you can pull and find out for yourselves. I know in St. Louis and Kansas City, there is a slight uptick in that and gang shootings, gang-related incidences.
Right. And you find that in your local. Don't look for it on mainstream. It has to be local.
You got to go to the place, case.net. I think there's one for every state. You can look to see who's arrested and what arrests are being made. The police reports are all public. You can go and read all the police reports because chances are, if shots being fired, 911's being called and police are reporting on it. So, look at your local news to see what what the beat is on the street and all that kind of stuff, and just pay attention, people, because violence. The thing about violence is it can happen within literally a heartbeat. And without anybody really expecting it at all, and before you know it, it's over.
Yeah.
And a lot of casualties can be hopefully can be diverted if they just pay attention to your surroundings. And I don't want to put fear in people, but I want people to empower themselves.
We're past the point of putting fear into people.
Well, I know, but I feel even on this platform, I feel like I have to preface that
it's a reality. Reality is what it is, and to sugarcoat reality when you can see it on mainstream media every day is a disservice to people. In my opinion,
I agree.
Yeah. I agree with you, Warrior, that it's going to get worse. I agree that everything that we're seeing is tied to American politics. I mean, I don't know what else to call it. Clowns. Clown world. But, I mean, look at what they, one of the biggest news stories was Nicolas Maduro's plane being seized by the American government. The president of Venezuela.
Oh, you mean the one that just walked in and said, "Nah, I'm going to go ahead and just take the presidency"?
Okay.
That guy.
Yeah, that guy.
And the ballot boxes, right?
Everything.
Everything was rigged. They had Dominion machines in their voting systems. We still do, by the way, people. We still do.
But here's what I'm talking about. They took his plane that was sitting in the Dominican Republic for 9 months.
Where do you store a plane for 9 months?
Who knows?
It's just like, is
all of a sudden-
Jorge gets it for every other Tuesday, and then Miguel over there gets it on the Wednesdays.
They're calling it like it's the Venezuelan Air Force One. It's a $13 million jet. There are G5s that are 20 years old that cost more money than that jet. The U.S. government is saying this is a huge seizure. No, it's not. It's not a huge seizure.
Out of $13 million now.
Not at $13 million. I don't care if it's sitting in the DR for 9 months. Exactly. Julio is taking it out for the weekend with some strippers and shit.
Probably.
So what do you mean by take it? Did they fly it somewhere?
They seized it.
Just put
it's here.
under the wheels or something?
Yeah.
It's in Miami.
They put a boot on the front wheel of the airplane.
I don't know how you seize a plane. I mean,
put a boot on.
You don't just stick it in your pocket. That's for sure.
Well, the sanctions that Trump put on Venezuela back in 2018, whatever it was, the Biden administration decided that they were going to enforce it today or yesterday, whatever, and they seized the plane.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
4 or 5 years, no big deal.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That's weird. All right.
But
This
is what's making news. Right? This is what's not what you're talking about. The infiltration of people that are coming with machetes and machine guns.
Yeah.
This plane.
A $13 million plane that no one gives a shit about.
Exactly.
Well, I wonder what was on it.
Whatever was on it is all gone by now. It was sitting in the Dominican Republic for 9 months.
It could have had
vacant
bribery stuff on it.
It was probably stripped.
Probably.
Yeah. It was probably stripped for scrap metal.
That's what I don't. But the serious stuff that's happening in our country, in the major cities, goes unnoticed.
Of course.
It just goes unnoticed.
I mean, why would we want to talk about things that actually affect people on a day-to-day basis? I have no idea. It's depressing, is what it is. It's really depressing.
Mm.
It is. And there has to be a time where we have to start looking at the present and stop trying to equate the past with the present. If you follow what I'm saying.
I follow what you're saying.
Yes, I'm not going to say bad things about the playbook, so on and so forth. That's a true thing. That happens. But right now, we're in a whole new situation in this country. With the amount of people that are flooding in that they're saying that aren't coming in.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Oh, people are
Thank
going to
you.
learn. They're going to learn quickly.
Well,
They're coming from all over. Yet when they cross and you ask them where they're going, they know right where they're going.
yeah,
It's amazing.
So I mean,
They all look fed. They all have clean clothes.
yeah.
You know,
Cell
What's up with
phones.
those clothes?
cell
Yeah.
phones. Yeah. Nothing to see here, folks. Keep moving on. And we're moving. And we're moving.
Yeah.
You know?
Pivot.
Pivot. Yeah, right. Look over here. Look over here with the birdie. Look at the birdie.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. That's exactly what it's like.
It's exactly what it's like. What's up, Reverend Rand?
What is going on, my friends?
Howdy, sir.
Are we simulcasting, or you didn't set that
Yeah,
up?
turn them on for sure.
Okay.
Yep, I got them set up. Everybody's waiting. I got the McGroin Nation waiting. Whole bunch of people watching.
Okay. Everything should be going on. Anyway,
You want to smack
So,
your microphone around or something?
I didn't think you were going to turn me on that quick. I was trying to hurry up and stuff a
Oh.
piece of chicken in my face.
sorry. Let's get Mr. Rand's point of view on this, because I'm sure he's been keeping apprised of this situation. Justin, tell him about what we were talking about, please.
Okay, so over a year ago, Pete Spaz and I, we had a conversation about the illegal aliens, and I brought up the thing where, well, a lot of the people that were coming over are from areas of extreme violence where they have no problem taking a machete and cutting your hand off or cutting your head off to make a point, and how those people are flooding into our nation. They're just going to these larger cities, and eventually they will go into smaller communities, or they will maybe in a militaristic way take over. Maybe they already are. I think they already are taking over the current gangs in large cities, so that they are they're in a position to where they can choke off large fairways, like large interstates and stuff like that, and isolate the people in the city. But what we're seeing right now is exactly what we talked about, exactly what I brought up, and in Aurora, Colorado, with the Venezuelans going door to door, taking over these apartment buildings one by one, and it's just people just don't understand what's coming, and that things that I talked about over a year ago are coming correct. It's just what people were talking. Some people were talking about. They didn't think it was going to be the way that I said it. They thought it was going to be more of a militaristic way. But within a gang system, there is a military structure. But however, there's nuances within it and how to infiltrate the gang, or take the gang out by bombs or drive-bys, or you can poison their fentanyl. You can take over their drug system. You can raid their drug houses. There's a whole bunch of stuff you can do for these who are already criminals coming into our country, who were criminals in their prior country. They have a lot of street knowledge, and we're currently seeing that, and we're seeing an uptick in violence, gang violence in all the major cities, and how again what we talked about a year later now is coming true on this show, and how people really need to listen to what we have to say. So, in a nutshell, that's pretty much.
Here's my response, and bear with me for a minute, because I'm going to hit a couple points that all blend together. All right, so first and foremost, the multiculturalism experiment has failed. It has failed not because of multicultures, because let's be real. I love Chinese food. I love Mexican food. I love Italian food. That part isn't failed at all. I love my Mexican brothers and sisters. I love my Italian brothers and sisters, and so on and so on. But it's the moral identity, the cultural moral basis, this belief system of what is good and is evil is failing. in and of itself. Okay, so we start there. We start with the fact that America has bent its knee because it gave up its identity, and that's why the multiculturalism has failed, because we didn't require everybody else to adhere to our culture. Instead, we tried to adhere to theirs, which... So you get this long pause because that's where the expletives would be that I normally would like to say out loud.
I was just thinking that.
Is the dumbest shit ever. I mean, I don't even have words for it. It's just that dumb. Like I don't get why we would do that. But so now here's where this gets even worse, because this has been nefarious, because this is what the left has been pushing. This is why they want separation of church and state. This is why they want to take away guns. This is why they want to demoralize all of us, and they want to strip us away from familyhood and unity and all of that, because it all still comes down to control. And the more divided we are, the more, the easier it is for them to control us. I mean, we know that. Anybody who's read a history book understands how that works. So here's what is truly nefarious about this, about the evil that's coming across our border. And I think most people don't understand this truest concept because they're so busy looking at it from a political point of view. They don't realize that there's other implications in this. And it's quite simply this. If you look at Aurora, Colorado, I almost said California because it's all starting to bleed together. So you look at Aurora, Colorado. If you look that up, look it up on the map. Where is Aurora, Colorado? If Aurora, Colorado were any closer to Denver, it would be Denver because it's right on the outskirts of Denver. This isn't some faraway place. This is almost literally downtown Denver. I mean, it's like right there. So it's not like there's a lack of resources, a lack of ability to deal with this, all of this. No, what you're watching is a complete exemption of law. A complete and absolute exemption of law, because law enforcement could have taken care of, what do we got, 16 Venezuelans, 18, what did they say, what was the number? But either way, it wouldn't matter if there was 100 of them. Law enforcement would know how to deal with that. They would come in with TAC team and deal with that. Maybe a little bit of help from the National Guard, but they could deal with that literally in a couple hours. So maybe if there's a standoff. I mean, look what they did to Waco. You burned the whole thing down. They had no problem. The Federal Bureau of Investigation has no problem killing women and children. They could have dealt with that in literally an afternoon, and they're not doing it. They're not doing it. In fact, they've been trying to sweep it under the rug. Hold on a second, Pete. I'm leading to something.
Okay.
Because here's the thing about it. When the Constitution no longer applies, and I mean every state constitution, not just the federal Constitution, I mean even at the local level, because the Constitution is nothing more than a set of laws and implication of moral values. All right. So when those moral values are out the window and Americans have to start defending themselves and defending their communities, when vigilantism becomes the law of the land, what does that turn into? That vigilantism is nothing more than more gang behavior, because that's how it has to operate. That's how it has to function. It has to set up the same structure, the same leadership, everything else. It has to control territory, even if it's for good reasons and not for evil reasons. Even if the vigilantes want to protect their neighborhood and not just sell drugs like the gangbangers do, they still have to adopt that same structure, that same set of behaviors. And when they do that, what do we have? We have petty tribalism. Every community, every little neighborhood is broken up into its own little group, and they all separate themselves more and more from each other. And all the more that this nation is not united, and all the more that it is divided, that we are divided from each other, literally by streets.
Okay.
Think about that. That's the implication. And I want to go a step further, by the way, a step further than that, because this is the other thing that I see in this that everybody's not realizing, because a lot of these people throwing around the word civil war and revolution. And I don't believe we could have a civil war. It'd have to be a revolution of sorts. And you got the people on the side of communism and the people on the side of America. So, that's my observation of that. But the reality is that in that scenario, that's another instance where the Constitution gets suspended. And when you look at the Hegelian dialect, the same thing that they tried to apply in the rise of Nazi Germany, the same thing they've been doing all along, is they create a whole bunch of trouble, then they offer a solution, but their solution only comes back to half of what the problem was to begin with. So every time they give us a solution and calm things down, they have still normalized and gained ground and not gone all the way back to the original set of values. And that's what the game is here as well. As they keep pushing as far as they can, they come back a little bit, then they push further, then they come back a little bit, and then pretty soon the idea that we all should be carrying around machine guns in our own damn neighborhoods to get our children to school, and that we should have shootouts and gang fights every damn morning just to get children to school somehow becomes normalized, that we start turning into Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome or any of the Mad Max series. We're going to start welding crap onto our cars, and there's no more law on the road, so we're going to start ramming into each other, killing each other, everything else, and that's going to become normalized. And the more that becomes normalized, the more we are separated from God, the more we are separated from Jesus Christ, the more we are separated from the Holy Spirit, and the more we are separated from each other.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll throw something in there, and anybody can answer. I don't care. So I agree with what you're saying, no doubt. But are we looking at this from a left-right paradigm, or are we looking at it as a government against the citizenry for control?
It's not even that.
Being that the government wants to implicate.
Yeah. The government right now, and I think we can all agree on this. I mean, there's people that are for it. Even the majority of the Democrats will agree that the government is nothing more than puppets for the global oligarchs. And, there's just some people who think that's a great idea. Hey, let's have all these people who stole, they figured out creative ways to steal all our money. They must be smart. Let's let them control our lives. Why not? Sounds like a great idea. They're willing to give me a nickel for my trouble. I can stay home, eat chicken tendies, and scream at mommy for some chocolate milk while I play Xbox. Sure, why not? Only they don't know that they're not going to get to stay home, because the ultimate goal is they want workers, not thinkers. So you don't get to stay home. You're going to be slave labor. The concentration camps were the example. Everybody thinks the concentration camps were about killing Jews. No, they weren't. They were about slavery, and they didn't feed slaves. They worked them to death and just got new slaves. It just primarily were Jews that they were using.
Well, okay.
All this sounds like population control.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in a way, yes.
Slavery is as slavery is.
Yeah. It is population control. Because you get to control the worker, right?
Yep.
Justin, you agree with that?
Also, the oligarchs get to dodge personal accountability. That's the other part.
Well, again, I think this is more of a systems of control, and what I mean by that is that we have to find out who's in charge of these systems of control, and I don't care what title they carry or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. Those individuals, or there are certain people within those groups, or whoever's in charge of the system is being influenced by a certain group of people or individuals, or a narrative or something. And I'm more inclined to trying to find out who that is as opposed to anything else. But it is a good idea to keep to keep the news at arm length distance, and every once in a while poke your head in and see what's going on, because I mean you have to, something we talked about over a year ago is now coming true, and I don't think things are slowing down. I think they're going to be speeding up, because whoever is pushing this agenda, whoever is speeding up this agenda, is either doing it for their own personal agenda, maybe a prophecy or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
But they realize that something is coming. Time is short. Something is coming. And what that is, I couldn't tell you. But I just feel as though whoever is pushing these systems of control and whoever's in charge of them, they are definitely trying to hurry things up. That's why we can see a lot of their mistakes, and and the mistakes are on multiple levels of everything.
Can I throw in just a quick interjection for you? Just
Sure.
a little bit of understanding. All the reason these people are desperate is because all of the people who are pushing this, all of the people. I mean, you look at Jacob Rothschild, you look at Pelosi, you look at, even Rockefeller, you look at, I mean, any of the main players, even Klaus Schwab himself, they're all near death. This is their last hurrah. This is it. If they don't get it, then it falls apart. If Trump gets back in, it falls apart. If, there's a whole bunch of ifs and it falls apart. And this is the last of the group. And let's be real about it. Even they recognize that all of the useful idiots that they have trained to be commies behind them, all these young people that, we're so upset at, and rightfully so. I'm not saying that we shouldn't be, but let's be real. Those people don't get it. They're morons. They have no idea how to put anything together. All of the old guard are dying. And even right now, you look at the Democrat Party, this year, there's all new faces and new voices. And it's come out even dumber and even more disorganized than before. So, yeah, all of the old people are like, this is our last chance or we're screwed.
But is that on purpose? Are these people playing a role? Is what I'm saying. Are they coming out as stupid so we look at them and dismiss them, while on the backside they're throwing Venezuelan gangs in the cities?
Yeah, and I think it's wrong to dismiss them. I think that is very wrong. Don't dismiss them. Take them at their word. They're serious.
I believe
and quite honestly, if somebody says they're going to kick my ass, I don't assume that they're being metaphoric. I just go ahead and punch them in the nose. You said you're going to kick my ass. If you didn't want punched in the nose, then you probably shouldn't say you're going to kick my ass. So I think it needs to be that literal. But if we look at the history of behavior with these groups of people, there's the ones who are trying to control and manipulate. And then there's all the others who think they're on the same side, but they're the useful idiots. If we look at the LGBTQ STD crew, for example, you can clearly see that they're all being set up to be the victims of their own circumstance. They're being wound up because they think they're going to somehow be our enemy. And if we actually fall into any kind of kinetic situation, they're going to get plowed under just as quick as a farmer plowing the field. I mean, it's just going to be mechanical and done. And history has proven over and over again, when these groups of people do this, they become fodder. They're nothing but useful idiots. And it's the same thing, even with the BLM and Antifa riots and all of that. All of those people were destroying themselves. All of the communities that they were destroying, they destroyed themselves. And even out in California, where you're at right now, I just watched a video where that comedian, Bert Kreischer, freaking hilarious. If you haven't seen him, The Machine. If you have a chance to look that up and you haven't seen him, go look up on YouTube. I know YouTube, but The Machine, Bert Kreischer, The Machine. It's freaking hilarious. But anyway.
Was that a CVS he was in?
Yeah, he went to a Rite Aid.
Okay.
And there wasn't even hardly anything on the shelves.
Right.
The place was empty. There was no business. There was nobody. Why the store was even still open, nobody knows. And these people are doing this to their own communities, and they don't realize that their leadership is setting them up to destroy themselves and to establish us as their enemies, when they don't even have the understanding that they're destroying themselves, let alone the understanding it would take to stand up against the rest of us. So they're being used, and that's the observation. You can see, the rhythm and the pattern. And that's one of the things that I've talked about quite a bit, is recognizing the patterns of behavior. because when you do, then you save yourself from falling susceptible to the same garbage that they're victimizing their own people with.
Well, there are still buildings that are closed from the Rodney King riots here in LA 30 years later that never, ever reopened. And these people destroyed their own communities. And even 30 years later, they're still empty buildings. Do they not see that pattern?
Yeah. And there's so many people that this chaos has become normalized to them, and that's really the goal in all of this, it seems, is to train us to this normalcy of chaos. Think about this. One of the things that Chris and I just did a show, and I don't know if it was Colin Scrugg or one of them on X, one of the big accounts, but they made a point. Imagine going back to 2019, like not even that far back, and then telling somebody that from this point on, this list of bullshit's going to happen.
Nobody would believe it.
Nobody would believe it.
No.
And if you can imagine, I know you guys are so young, you probably wouldn't understand this, but if we went back to, even the mid to late 80s and said, oh yeah, by the way, this is what, the next 30 years or so are going to bring you, you'd have been laughed at. Like, no, nobody's going to do that. You're full of it. And here we are.
Yeah. I would have never, ever thought our country would hit a point like this.
Yeah.
Ever. And back in the 80s and the 90s, I used to go to Mexico all the time.
Yeah.
Walk across the border. No problem.
Yep. Did that a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a confession right here on your show, Pete. This is going to be my first public confession.
Okay.
At 12 years old, I was an international arms dealer.
Holy shit.
Yep. At 12 years old, I was an international arms dealer. So when me and my dad would go to Mexico, and my dad, I don't know where I get it from, but he likes to talk a lot. I'm so quiet and shy. But while he's standing around talking to everybody and visiting with his friends, and he loved to haggle over the price of blankets. We used to get those hand woven blankets like by the truckload and bring them back. And while he was doing that, every time we went down to Mexico, I wore this big baggy jacket, but it had real tight cuffs, and it had all these huge pockets, and I always made sure to wear a good belt. And I had these sports socks that come all the way up to my knees. And so while Dad was shopping, see, in Mexico, they don't care who they sell what to. So at 12 years old, I bought in Laredo, Texas, if you go across the border, if you walk straight, that little road right there, straight across the border, there's a plaza, a big square plaza with a fountain in the middle. Every store in that plaza, I bought every switchblade knife they had every time we went.
I was just going to say, switchblades, brass knuckles.
Yeah, but the stiletto switchblades, because here the switchblades and the butterfly knives were illegal for the longest time, but you could still get butterfly knives. Because I grew up learning how to flip those things around because that made me cool. I was one of the cool kids. Yeah. But you couldn't find the stiletto switchblades. So I was buying them for $15 a piece. And I would come back with as many as 200 of them at a time.
Oh, no, I didn't do that.
And I was selling them at $50 a piece. And they were literally, the night that I got back, they were all sold. Everybody was lined up right there. They were all sold. I was the international arms dealer to Florida for switchblade knives.
I used to buy switchblades and brass knuckles. Real brass knuckles.
You might have bought some of my imports. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
I was the only kid. You guys ever watch South Park?
and nunchucks.
All right, so in South Park, Butters decides he's going to be a pimp. He ends up being a pimp.
Yeah.
And then who was it? Stan or one of them starts giving him some pushback. He pays one of the other kids, like, here's $100 if he messes with me, punch him.
Yeah.
I was that kid. Like, I always had rolls of dough in my pocket. Nobody could figure out how I was always rolling, but I was the kid in school that always had the candy. I was the guy that brought the switchblades. I was also the guy that everybody knew if you needed to have a friend whose sister's cousin's friend's uncle's friend's cousin's sister knew someone who could get you a bag of weed. I was the guy that you started down that path with.
And you did tattoos.
And then at 13 years old, I started tattooing.
Jeez. Just an all-around international criminal.
Nope. Hustler. Got to make the money. You got to make the money.
I ain't got a problem with either one. But anyway, by the way, nothing on this show is an admission of guilt.
Yes. It's just a story allegedly in Minecraft.
Everything's allegedly. Because I don't even want to talk.
I'm pretty sure the statute of limitations has run out on that.
I think so.
Yeah. And now you can buy the stiletto switchblades at the flea markets now. It's no big deal to find them.
Are they legal in Florida?
Yeah. They're legal here. I buy them all the time.
Yeah. They're not legal here. Okay.
I have one around. I usually carry one in my pocket, but I took it out and set it down somewhere. I think it's over on my nightstand.
Yeah, I want to get me one of those.
The ones. This is something that astounds me. Speaking of those, a switchblade knife is legal, but a gravity knife is not. And a gravity knife is nothing more than a switchblade without the springs in it.
Yeah, it's done by gravity.
Yeah.
That's
well, there's one that's made of titanium that I want. It's about $400, and it's I had one like it at one point, and I'll tell you what. Once you get a handle of these things, I'm a big fan of the 20-foot rule. A big fan of it because I know it works. I've used it. If you're paying attention, you can engage someone inside of 20 feet with a knife faster than they can draw and aim a firearm. 2 steps. Yeah. So if you're paying attention, it's good. And if you're also good, with like butterfly knives and those fidget, just like the little fidget toys, if you got the fidget knives that you know how to work, well, a gravity knife is a fantastic fidget knife. And if you know how to play with that correctly, and you have one that's titanium on top of it, you put an edge on that thing, and I mean, you can bash it into concrete before you dull it. I mean, those things are amazing.
Absolutely.
I truly recommend this day and age. I recommend for everybody to carry a knife, and I say that not just carry the knife, but be practiced in getting it out. Be practiced in operating it with one hand. Be practiced in, I use even the stiletto switchblade that I have now. It's a single edge. It's a good carbon steel blade. It's hardened. I put an edge on it. It stays. I mean, I paid a little bit of money for it. It's a good knife, and I open boxes with it.
Worst thing
I cut food with it. You know what I mean? Like it's a habitual thing to pop that out and use it just like a regular pocket knife.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason that's important is because if you're in a high emotion situation, in a high stress situation, you don't want to have to stop and think about what you're doing. It needs to be second nature.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I
it
think
needs to be
this
second nature.
conversation that we're having right now is appropriate for like what Warrior was talking about.
That's exactly why I'm referring to this, is because
it's very
because the more. And I want you to think about this too. If you're playing Minecraft in a video game, and you have to use a knife or some other instrument of self-defense,
mm-hmm.
You should consider whether or not that character is appropriate to that game or not, as to whether or not you should report that character to the game or just walk away.
You're gonna have to do more than that. I don't understand what you just said.
Is it worth engaging in certain people or not engaging in certain people?
Gotcha.
That's essentially what I'm saying.
More specifically, if
Okay, thank you.
if you have to send a character to its respawn point,
I got you now. Yeah.
do you report that character as having to go to its respawn point or not?
Yes.
Sometimes it's smarter to just walk away and say, I saw nothing. I know nothing. Yep.
Exactly.
Schultz.
Yes. Sergeant Schultz.
Yeah.
And like I said, with the events that are happening nowadays, everybody should legally protect themselves.
Yes.
However, and make sure for wherever you live
Yes.
that you find out the laws.
Whatever manner of self-protection you might feel appropriate.
Please check your local listings. Your local. What does your local sheriff say? Your county your county clause says? What does the state say about it?
Unless your sheriff is Grady Judd, then you already know the answer.
Correct.
And I'm actually the next county over, right?
See this little clip?
Yeah.
In California, that little clip being out of your pocket is the difference between staying out of jail and going to jail.
Why? Because it's not concealed if it's
because you're properly securing your knife so it doesn't open up and stab you in the leg.
Well, no, it's not considered a concealed weapon.
It's a clip. It can be a clip to anything.
The blade is under 3 inches, which is legal. If it's in your pocket.
Ours is bigger than that in our state.
Well, if it's in your pocket, it's considered a concealed weapon.
So if you have it flipped, if you have it hanging out your pocket,
it's exposed.
It's exposed, and that's not considered a concealed weapon.
Exactly.
Huh.
Nice.
It's so ridiculous that
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's ridiculous here.
California does that.
Since you bring that up, Pete, I want to share something with everybody.
Jeez Louise.
So I have my stiletto, right?
I love
It's the same thing. It's got the little clip on the side. If you put it in your pocket, but you leave that clip clipped on the edge of your pocket, right there, so you don't have to reach all the way down in your pocket. It's right there on the edge, and it's a practice motion to get it out.
Yeah,
and I can do it a lot faster if I put it into my thumb. But you can, same thing from the other side. You can get it out and push it all one-handed, and it becomes a practice motion. But if it's always clipped, because I think that's a great point, if it's always clipped on the edge of your pocket, and not because California has some retarded bullshit law, but because it's expedient for you, that it makes that knife handy and accessible.
Yeah.
And keep in mind, a lot of times, and this is the other thing that's important, a lot of times, if somebody is aggressing you, to use scientific terms, if somebody is aggressing you, all of the communication and the visual is up here. They get in close, especially these little gangbangers with their guns. They think they're cool. They want to come right in close and get in your face, because for them, intimidation is the factor. True. They want to scare you and bully you with fear. So I want everybody to understand that. First and foremost, if their eyes are diverted, get that knife out. Second of all, I want you to understand something. It's not about the kill shot. Everybody thinks you got to stab someone in the gut or something like that. So here's the reality. Pay attention to this, everybody. If you have to, if you're in this situation, and God forbid that you are, but if you are, I want you to remember, right here across the wrist is tendons. If you cut those tendons, can't grip your hand. Right at the back of the elbow, right under here, is tendons. If you cut those tendons, can't raise your arm. Right across the top of the shoulder, right here, the same thing. There's a row of tendons right there on the top of the shoulder, just straight down. You cut the tendons, can't pick the whole arm up. If they can't pick your arm up, if you can't grip a gun, if you can't bend your elbow, you can't point a gun. And then you own them from there. And it doesn't have to be deadly force. It just has to be debilitating force. And then once you control the situation, now you can decide what you need or don't need to do, or decide if there's witnesses or not witnesses, or what other variables you might be concerned about.
Right. Let me I don't know what your training is, but for me, I've actually done combatives to a level to where I was trained with a knife and how to kill people with a knife within the 20-foot range you're talking about, which is absolutely correct. The one that I have is on my offhand, because I would usually twist a little bit, because I have a side satchel, and behind the side satchel is a short little knife in it. We're not talking about something where you need like a big camping knife, people. Okay. Something about less than 3 inches long. As long as that the handle part of it grips well in your hand, and you're proficient with it, and you can get it out quickly, that's what matters. Because reality, what's someone's going to do is get in your face, right? And then all of a sudden they're distracted. You can stab them in the belly if you want, but if they got your hands on them, what we were taught is simply this: you got the hands here, take the knife, drag it across the hands.
Yep.
Drag it right across the hands, and they're like, "Oh, like that," and then you can go in and start to do the body work if you want to.
Right.
But you do that. You see, you cut across someone's hands, that's going to bleed a lot. Okay.
We don't condone violence.
Oh, I condone violence in the proper format in the self-defense.
That's the
only time I condone violence.
But
self-defense.
We're talking about 2024. What's going on in the major cities in this country when you go fucking grocery shopping? You don't know what's going to happen.
No, you don't. You don't know.
The car and the parking lot.
Right.
Now, I recommend, here's my recommendation. Okay, here's my honest to God recommendation, people. If I would check wherever your state, if your state is possible, get a carry permit. My state, you don't need a carry permit. So I would suggest that you guys get proficient with a small carry firearm, and also a knife. Well, you use a go. There's a lot of retired sheriffs. There's a lot of retired special forces guys that love doing this shit all day, just doing trigger time at the range. Okay. You can just get a hold of somebody who's reputable and who's able to teach you and stuff like that. I mean, I've trained lots of people to go to war and stuff like that. So I've thought about getting my training permit as well. But I definitely would recommend somebody, going, and if you've never fired a firearm, be honest with it. Go to indoor range, rent the pistol, rent a couple pistols, go and figure out how it feels, how, most importantly,
get comfortable with it.
The caliber really doesn't matter. In close range, 20 feet doesn't matter, because it all goes bang. But what matters is that if where your target acquisition is when you're pointing that weapon, or if you pull it out real quick, is that pistol going to be staying in your hand as you're firing it rapidly?
Right. And
that's all that matters.
Every indoor range that you go to has some sort of class that you can take
all the time
in firearms or knives, how to properly use a knife.
Yep, the more advanced self-defense classes, people will teach you how to defend yourself with a knife. Yep.
And there are a number of other things that you can do as well. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of, the tendons work. Watching for your spot. But here's the thing: is that a lot of you out there aren't warriors. A lot of you out there aren't aggressive people, or you don't have that nature in you, and I understand that. I understand that this is something difficult that we're talking about. It seems very unreal to a lot of people, but I will tell you, when you find yourself in that situation, your urge to live will outweigh all of your other emotions. Your urge to survive will outweigh all of your other emotions. And then it's just a matter of understanding what options you have before you.
Right.
And here's the thing about it is that 20 years ago, I would have never publicly had this conversation. I know what I know because I was in situations that I needed to know it. All right. Most people aren't. Most people don't need to know this kind of information. Unfortunately, because of the invasion that we're facing, because of the lawlessness from our own government that we're facing, we now have to start considering this. We have to start considering that. And I want you to think about this. Okay. Some of you out there know that I spent a lot of my life in the biker community. I grew up in the biker community. I was homeless as a child. I was taken in by bikers, and I grew up having brothers and sisters that were bikers and so on. And the only reason I tell you that is because that also taught me a lot about being security minded. Not just the physical stuff and everything else that everybody thinks looks cool on TV, but also protecting those those that you care about around you. And to give you an understanding, for a long time, I'm 6'4" and 270 pounds. I used to be able to pick up 460 pounds and throw it. Not anymore. I'm getting a little old and I'm out of shape. But the point being is that made me fantastic to be an enforcer. And an enforcer is nothing more than a security guard for the club. And part of that, there's a reason I tell you, I'm not trying to be the cool kid or anything like that. That's not what this is about. But anytime the women, the wives and girlfriends, you see, they didn't understand the rules. They didn't understand security or anything else. And we didn't make them understand them because these are our women. These are people that we care about. We want them to, live for the freedom that we're there to protect. And so if they wanted to go to the bathroom together, yeah, somebody's standing guard at the door to their bathroom. Nobody else is going in. If they go out to the parking lot together, at least 3 brothers are going to be in different directions around them in the parking lot with eyes open all the time. Everything that we do or did was about security because we always had someone from another club or other gangs, stuff like that, who would, try to, at different times, try to cause problems, and hurt those we love. And a lot of times it wasn't even, I got to tell you, most of the trouble that I ever had were from people that weren't even in a club or a gang or anything else. They were just stupid people who thought they were tough. But the reality is that
now, what do you have to worry about now when your wife or your daughter goes to the bathroom
right
in a public space?
And that's what I'm saying. When my chapter president went to the bathroom in a bar, I stood in front of the door, and I don't give a shit if you're the owner of the bar. You're not going in that bathroom until my president is done in that bathroom. And that's how adamant I was about the security of the people that I cared about. And the reason I'm telling you all of this is because some of you that live, like if you live in California, if you live in Pennsylvania, if you're near any of these hotspot blue shitholes that we're talking about, if you live in Colorado, you might have to start thinking about getting together with people in your community and doing the same behaviors. When you go shopping, you have a couple people are going to go in and push the shopping cart, and then you have 6 more people who are going to fan out and do everything they can to protect the couple people shopping. You're going to have to start running security detail for your family. When you take your children to school, you have to be vigilant and pay attention. There was a guy who stabbed, a 9-year-old girl, stabbed her to death because he felt like it. And he was an illegal immigrant that had already been arrested and released. And then he committed a violent crime again, and a young girl lost her life because somebody wasn't vigilant, because our government wasn't vigilant, because our government doesn't apply the law anymore. And that is the sad state of affairs where we're at. And I only say all of this because this is where we are. And I believe that we as a nation, we as a people, not the nation, not the United States of America, but we the people, I believe that we can do better. And I believe that the more we unite and the more we stand together for each other, the safer we're going to be. And it's now painfully obvious that our government is not going to stand for us.
I agree. Okay. That was a good conversation. And like I said, before we move on, take what you want from what everybody said and protect yourself. However you feel fit, you need to do it.
Yes. That's the thing. That's the thing too. And
Yeah.
I just want to preface that one thing here, a couple things. Make sure you know what gun laws are in your state, what gun advocates, who the gun advocates are, your senators, congressmen, your sheriffs. Make sure you know who these people are in case you a good case in case you find yourself in a situation where you have to discharge your firearm for your own defense. Make sure you know who the lawyer is, who is a good 2A lawyer and who is a good defense attorney. Because you're going to need one, because the state will the prosecutor will not be kind to you. Okay.
No.
And I want to make the one thing perfectly clear: there are no superheroes, people. There is no one coming to save you. Okay. No. You have to do the hard work. You have to get off your ass. You have to be the one who's vigilant. You have to put down that bong a little bit more, or set down that drink. You're going to have to do it, because no one is going to be there. You are your first line of defense in every situation. And that's the one thing that they taught us when we were training, is like, there is no one coming for you. Fight as though you are alone. Okay. Mm-hmm. And even if you do have people with you, you fight as though you're alone. So you fight with a vengeance. You fight with a fury. All right. But I just want people to realize that, and not to be afraid of the situation, not to be timid of the situation. But also don't back down when the situation comes, because you backing down, you hesitating could mean the end of your life.
True.
Exactly.
But that comes through training. So if you do the proper training, you have the right mindset, you practice, you do the exercises, your laws, you do everything to protect you and your family. At the end of the day, I think you'd be okay.
All right.
So that's it.
Okay. So let's do this. What other? We said, well, that took up an hour and a half of that, just that one topic about the Venezuelan gangs. We went all over, and which is a good thing. It's a good thing. A lot of questions. So what else that you guys think was significant, either politically or not, that you saw in the last 3 or 4 days, that anybody would like to speak on? Spaz, do you have anything, or
I heard
on to somebody else?
I heard some country issued a warrant for arrest of Vladimir Putin. I forget which country it was.
Well, the International Criminal Court did.
Oh,
yeah.
So
but
it's
that
not
was
a country.
No, that was many months ago.
I want to bring up something real quick. The CEO of Telegram got arrested in France.
Yeah.
Okay, talk about that.
On allegedly. So I just heard a little bit about it over the weekend. Allegedly, because he doesn't squash the speech on the platform. Apparently, I'm not quite sure exactly what happened, but there's a law that in France that he violated after he touched down and his plane was refueling. That's when they arrested him. Was on the tarmac. They took him off the plane, and they arrested him. Now, exactly what it was, I can't remember exactly what it was in France that he supposedly violated, but I think maybe he was told that you either better curtail the speech or you better censor the speech, and he said, "No, fuck you guys." I think it pretty much came down to that.
the touchdown on the tarmac meant that they now had jurisdiction. See, here in the United States, if you're part of an international flight and you stay in the plane, then you're not considered to be on American soil. You're just passing through, even if you're just stopping to get fuel or whatever. If you're on the ground,
Another say it's
it's the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. With diplomats and all that. If they're in their vehicle, then their national sovereignty extends to the interior of that vehicle as well, and not in France. And it really was literally that he was told that we want you to censor what we tell you to censor. He said no. They said, well, we're going to suck our thumbs very loudly and arrest you. And and that's what they're doing. It's all leftist political garbage. It's all driven. And here's the thing is they're talking about how they want to do the same thing to Elon Musk, all these leftist communists. They want to shut down Musk. It's not just, this argument over misinformation and censorship. It's that anything that even slightly, propagates a common sense voice, a moderate voice, they want to shut down. They want only their propaganda. They want single party, single view rule. You're not allowed to talk about anything that isn't, approved by them. That's what they're trying to do. Mm-hmm. And the thing that I find the most funny about it is like, okay, they might take this guy out. They might take someone else out, but they're not going to succeed in any of this that they're trying to do for one simple reason, and one simple reason only, is trying to control humans, especially in large numbers, is like trying to herd cats across the river. We're all assholes.
Yeah.
We're all independent minded. We're all belligerent in one form or another. We all decide we're going to do what we decide we're going to do. No matter how many times you scream, yeah, greater good.
Major Adams there in the chat says it's not only about censorship. I don't think it has anything to do with censorship. I think it's about controlling their flow of information.
Yeah. Well, that's what I said. Yeah, they want only their words and nobody else's out there.
Exactly. And that's not particularly censoring things, but that's something different, in my opinion, I think.
Until they start deleting things.
Well, what I can see here is that he was charged. Macron says confirms arrest, but denies political motives. Of course, there's that whole narrative, but apparently hacking programs, hacking software, drug trafficking, child porn. These are some of the allegations. It seems to be that these allegations, whenever they arrest someone like this, like this kind of reminds me of Andrew Tate, what he got arrested for.
Yeah.
Or he's getting charged for, exactly. Yeah. But I think he really is trafficking women across international country lines. But that's neither here nor there. But it always seems to be that those are the three main ones. Like computer programming or corporate espionage. You have child porn, and then like money laundering is another one they use too a lot. So and then Jim Bob goes, he was invited. Like I said, I didn't read too far into it, but if he was invited to this, I mean, why would I mean? I guess if a president invites you to dinner, maybe you should show up despite whatever you do.
No.
Maybe that's a polite thing to do, but somebody like France, somebody like Macron, who's clearly in the club, why would you subject yourself to these people and what they do, and they're going to set you up? Am I going to say that? Oh, he's a white hat. He's working. No. I think he trusted Macron a little too much, and Macron set him up, and here we are now. So, but yeah, as long as he doesn't fold, I think Telegram is still safe. But I mean, at what point is every website censored? At what point is the internet censored fully? At what point does McAfee and Microsoft go live with their control programming and all the computers? The same with Apple, with all the Android systems and the Apple systems and stuff like that. How long until then? How long till we all know that our phones, they spy on us, but how long till you can't look up your bank account, or you can't order a pizza because you already ordered 2 times out this month, and to save the environment, we must stop that delivery driver from driving to your house 3 times in a month. That's where it goes. That's the slippery slope of where it goes, and there's just too much of it in our government. There's too much of that level of corruption in our government, and it's sickening. And I want nothing to do with it.
I don't think we're going to see that type of Chinese control in this country in our lifetime.
Yeah, probably not.
You want to know what my?
I don't think that'll happen.
You want to know what my prediction is?
Okay.
My prediction is that kinetic unrest starts on January 6th.
Say again.
Kinetic unrest starts on January 6th.
Of the next year?
Yeah, this coming, yeah.
Why? What's your prediction for that?
Because there's no way that Trump doesn't take the vote. There's no way, even no matter how much they try to cheat or everything else, they've already shit on their own people to the degree that Trump's going to get voted in by a landslide. It's going to be too big to rig. And they're already recognizing that. So their next modus operandi is to try to claim that he's ineligible to hold the office, and they're going to try to keep him from holding the office.
They already tried that.
No. They're. I mean, you saw the thing with Raskin and all that. That's what they're planning on. They want to physically say that no, you can't be president, and they're willing. And you even heard it from Raskin's own mouth, his own dirty child raping mouth, that they don't care if it turns to civil war conditions, that they'll just hire more bodyguards, which I don't see how that helps them, because there's just too many sharpshooters in the world. But that's a whole nother argument to have.
You're talking Insurrection Act, right?
Well, they believe that they believe that they're going to accuse him of having committed insurrection or participated in insurrection, even though they're completely, trying to completely bypass due process. He's never been charged with it. He's never been convicted of it. Therefore, you can't use it. But they believe that that's what they're going to stand on. All of America recognizes that they're bypassing due process. If Trump had been convicted, then they'd be like, oh man, you got us, or whatever. But he hasn't been convicted. They think they're going to just bypass it and do what they want anyway, because if they make the accusation, if they tell the lie enough, it somehow becomes true. And we know that it doesn't. It doesn't work like that. Facts are still facts, no matter how many times you lie about them. But they're still going to try, and all of America is going to say, okay, that's it. We're done. If you want to keep Trump out, then we're going to start taking out yours. And I believe that that's when it starts turning for tit for tat, going after politicians, and it escalates from there.
Yeah, I just don't see how they're going to stop. Personally, how even somebody like Jamie Raskin, when I saw that interview, what he did, I just don't see.
I think they're willing to commit the insurrection. I think they're willing to commit a military coup, and they're going to try to, display it as some sort of, act of constitutionalism because of the 14th Amendment. But in reality, they're perfectly okay. They're already signaling it. They're perfectly okay with committing a military coup. They've been trying to, reestablish the loyalties of the military. That's what COVID and all that was. So everybody who was willing to stand on integrity, they wanted to get them out. Anybody who was, willing to be a tranny dog mask wearing, suitcase stealing piece of trash was perfectly acceptable to stay. And they have a whole new branch of the military now. It's full of salt thumb sucking, and they think that's what they're going to use.
I think that's a failure on their part.
I think so. I think it fails, but I think it fails big enough that it's going to be in the history books. I think that when America steps up, they're going to realize, okay, we really underestimated this.
Yeah.
Because I also believe, I do truly believe that if we have a full-on kinetic interaction, full-on revolution in this country, everybody's got these ideas it's going to be this big-ass problem, but I don't see it lasting more than a couple of weeks. We have too many well-trained people and too many politicians, even at the local level, who are gonna be taking naps. And when the states are all controlled by the people who should be controlling those states, it doesn't matter what the federal government thinks they want. All the states are going to say, no, we're organized again, we're together again, we're united again. And I think that's when Americans in general, I mean, look at what happened at 1911. Well, 9/11. They blew up the trade centers, which, we have a lot of questions about that scenario as well. But look what happened to America. All of a sudden, everybody's waving flags. All of a sudden, everybody has a common enemy. And I think it's the same thing in that scenario. If it goes to that, I think that's when a lot of these people that have these big, we're already starting to see a lot of the people with big opinions are starting to lose those opinions because shit is getting real. Now it's getting real. Now they're realizing, okay, this is getting crazy. If it goes to that level of crazy, many more people are going to be like, okay, this is too much. We need to get this right. And that's, I think, it's the bully scenario. Everybody's values realign when noses start getting punched. So I think even if we have a kinetic interaction, like I said, I don't think it's going to last long.
Well, if that does happen, I hope you're right.
Yeah.
Anybody object to ending the show a little bit early?
Not at all, sir.
You okay with that?
Are you okay with it?
I am perfectly fine with it.
Yeah. You need to end it, then that's fine with me, man. Yeah, go rest.
I need to do that.
It's your world. I just live in it.
Go take some medicine. Go rest.
I'm going to. I need to go lay down.
I appreciate you having me on. I hope you feel better quick.
I will. Thank you very much. Who wants to go out first?
I will.
Go ahead, Rev.
Okay.
So I want to take a minute and remind everybody that unity is our answer. Unity is our answer. No matter what we face, no matter what comes, us standing together is going to be our answer. And when I talk about standing together, I mean more than, just kind of loosely moving in the same direction. I mean that, we have to start caring about each other. We have to start reaching out to each other. And just like our good friend Pete, we need to pray together. We need to pray for those who need it. We need to pray for our leaders. We need to pray for our enemies as well. And it's important. And I know that sounds crazy, but that's where our faith sends us. That's what made this nation great. So I want everybody to think about that and remember this more than anything else. Love is the answer. And remember that love is not always the kumbaya, hold hands and sing around the campfire kind of love. It's also brutal and unforgiving. Because many of us will walk into certain death if we have to protect that which we love. So remember that. Love you guys. I appreciate you. Keep praying.
Thank you.
Warrior, Spaz, Pete, love you guys. See you next time.
See you on Tuesday. Bye. Tuesday. Mr. Warrior.
Okay. Tomorrow, got Warriors workshop. I'll be finishing a cane, doing a lot of work on it tomorrow. Hopefully, I can get to do gluing and staining tomorrow. Hopefully, I can because I have a customer who wants a cane. So, yay! And thank you. Yeah, this one here, I'm going to take some pretty good details after I stain it, and everything. It's gonna look fucking amazing, honestly. Thursdays, I'll be probably because the weather's broken and it's a lot nicer. I'll be Thursdays probably walking a little bit more often. But I'll let you know, Pete. You know, depending on what course they're taking, I may just say no and stay home. But you know, it's getting nice, and yeah. So I'll just let you know. I'll just text you. Beyond that, I got a Friday show, a Saturday show. We're gonna and then Disconnect Theater on Sunday. So we're gonna do on Friday. We're doing another episode of our realm, and we're gonna look at something within our realm. And then on Saturday, I'm going to have open dojo night and probably get down and dirty with it. And then Disconnect Theater is going to be psychological thrillers on Thursday. So,
Sunday.
Sunday. So, so anyways, that's it. Pete, get well. Spaz, good to see you. Everyone in the chat, have a wonderful day, wonderful night, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Take it easy.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye. Mr. Spaz,
Yeah.
what's going on?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I didn't do much talking. I did a lot of absorbing.
that's okay.
It is.
I enjoy having you here, so it's all good.
I don't get much time to catch up on the news except for this stuff right here. So
Exactly.
I appreciate it.
So, mandatory Metal Monday.
112 last Monday.
Yes, you got to show up, and you got to give them a blue pill. It's mandatory
I can't believe I still do that.
every Monday.
Every
It's like
Monday.
the same thing every week, every Monday. And then the rest of the week, we don't find Spaz.
Spaz finds you.
Spaz finds you.
You better have a shirt on.
That's important. Or maybe not, whatever. But thank you, brother. I appreciate it.
Always.
Um,
You have yourself a great night.
you too. You want to say goodnight to Spaz?
Good night, Spaz.
Good night, sweetheart.
All right, man. I'll see you on Thursday.
Amen.
All righty.
Good night.
Good night. And thank you guys on Reverend Rant's platform for hanging out. The X, the D Live, the Twitter, wherever else you guys are. And on Build, all you guys for all the gold pills, red pills, blue pills, all the tips. Thank you so much. I'm going to try to do a show tomorrow. No promises, but I'm going to try. So keep a lookout for that. And that's all I got in me. I appreciate you all being here. Curious Cat, thank you very much. Thank you all for the gold pills. I appreciate it. All right. I will see everybody definitely on Thursday night for the Thursday night throwdown. But I'll do my best tomorrow. Until then, everybody have a great night.